So let's take a look through the Prime Minister's visionary eyes. Let's hear what he was going to do for the farmers and to do with our fruits.
If I say to you, we can assist our farmers through GDB by getting loans that would allow them to either form cooperatives or to buy themselves by having chiller trucks with solar panels on them that goes around the island collecting their fruit and in turn driving around our various parishes to sell their fruit directly to us so that they eliminate the need for M&IB, so that they have longer storage and they can bring the fruit directly to you. Would you call that a pie in the sky dream? So it's as simple as that. If I say to you there are trucks that we use to go on the electricity pole, to go on the telephone pole, and these trucks probably finish work at 4 or 5 in the evening, and we can ask the owners of these same trucks to rent them or provide them for free to our farmers so that you can put men in the same bucket and you can go and pick the coconuts, you can go and pick the mango that is in the tall trees, you can go and pick the sapodillas, you can go and pick the guava, anything that you ordinarily would not be able to reach. And you can use these hydraulic trucks to pick the fruit rather than them falling on the ground. Or you can put netting at the bottom of our mango trees and probably use the same hydraulic trucks to shake the trees so that the mango falls and they're not falling on the ground and damaging. You will call that a pie in the sky idea? That's mango on your plate. That's golden apple on your plate. That's sugar apple on your plate. And the more of this we could get is the more we can do agro-processing. Because for us to do the agro-processing, we need to get the mangoes, the sapodillas, the guavas, the golden apples in large quantities, consistently, all the time. And we need to be able to preserve them so that they give us a longer shelf life. So these are not pie in the sky ideas.
So you mean to tell me that Grenadians voted for bucket trucks going up to the mountain to pick fruits? Huh? We still await the transformational agenda. And these days, in desperation, we're grabbing at anything. So the gift of cricket bats to Grenada by the richest African man, the billionaire Dangote, Aliko Dangote, that is transformation, they say. It didn't work out. That is the transformation. And if some of you supported the transformational agenda, and if you are true to yourselves, you will agree that it is over and it is time to move on. A better Grenada is possible. We were promised storage from farmers, for farmers rather, throughout the island.
Storage. Mr. Speaker, as we seek to increase production on all fronts, the need for the establishment of central storage centers will be necessary. This administration will answer the call by using 10 40-feet containers to assist in providing storage for farmers' produce. The containers will be retrofitted with solar panels to provide energy and would be located in different parishes throughout the length of Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, private partnership will be pursued towards the development of cold storage facilities at the Maurice Bishop International Airport to boost export of fresh fish, fruits, and vegetables.
Now that is vision. That is vision. We were promised 500 affordable Grenadian-style houses a year.
Citizens of Grenada need hope. The young people need hope. The middle-aged citizens need hope. Or retirees need hope. But for tonight's purposes, our hope means homes our people enjoy. Homes our people enjoy. And so the commitment of the National Democratic Congress is to provide and assist in providing homes that our people can enjoy. So if we can now have the video.
Movie with only one actor. The emphasis is on Grenadian-style houses. And then in 2023 budget presentation by the then Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and Minister of Finance announced an allocation of $2.5 million budgeted for 500 houses in Stonygut, St. John.
Initiatives in this budget cycle include: 1. The Stonygut Climate Resilient Housing Development Pilot Project, which aims to construct modern, high-quality, climate-resilient Grenadian-style homes in Stonygut in the parish of St. John. Construction is expected to start in 2023, Mr. Speaker, and $2.5 million has been budgeted. Mr. Speaker.
Now, that didn't quite work out, right? So we went from Stonygut, 500 a year, Grenadian-style houses, to 500 a year prefab houses, with a pilot project of 17 in Dunfermline, St. Andrew.
We recognize that housing is a big challenge in Grenada. There is a current housing repair program that the government is running to assist persons in housing repairs. But this program has its challenges and it has its limitations. But we are nonetheless going to continue because we recognize that in some instances people are in truly desperate circumstances and we need to cater to them. But the program is not sustainable. And in the long run, it isn't really improving the housing stock in a sustainable manner. The average person builds a home once in their lifetime, for the most part. Maybe twice if you have an extended, if you go past the 10. And we need to build homes that can sustain, endure, and resist things like the hurricanes, resist things like termites, etc., etc. So, I can't see the screen from here, so I'm not so sure if you have the right. So, we promised Project 500, and we intend to deliver Project 500.
So, a prefab house is more sustainable than a concrete house? Okay. The fact of the matter is, there goes our vision of Grenadian-style houses, right? So no more Grenadian-style houses. It was cheaper and faster to build prefab houses, right? I'm moving into our 5th year in office and not one Project 500 house to show. But here is the chairman of the Housing Authority.
Project 500, it's a government initiative to alleviate some of the stresses on the housing industry, to improve the housing stock. As you could appreciate, there's many reasons why persons are unable to build. It could be 1, the availability of land. 2, it could be just the cost of building. So combining the two, Project 500 seeks to be able to find land for persons by having large areas of land and developing a community. So what we're trying to do is to have small homes, bigger homes, so that you have a wide range of persons and affordable homes. So if your person was trying to do it on their own, they would not have been able to afford a type of home like that. The quality of homes are such that it would stand up to the hurricane code, the building codes that we have here in Grenada. So it's more resilient. We take into consideration also in Project 500 that climate is changing, and we will try to bring in at a lower level climate smart techniques and material to improve the quality of the home. So we're not just building a regular home, we would try to have it with solar and some other facilities, water storing the facilities and so on, that you would not normally find in a regular housing project of our kind. So that's the difference between what we have done in the past and now. So this in a nutshell is Project 500, but we have 4 elements to Project 500. The first element deals with, we call it categories. So we say category A, where the government or housing authority has land already for that. And in this case, we're starting off with Dunfermline. That is housing authority's land. That is housing authority. It's been designated for homes for a lot of years now, and we already have a housing project up there. So we're just extending that area and using our land to put more homes. In that area, we have a test site that has started, and you would see it off the ground in terms of construction of the foundation during the month of October or towards the end of October. And should complete between December to January, depends on the speed. These are 17 homes. Okay. And from that, you would get, on the other side of the road, Housing Authority also have a further 15 acres, which we would develop and put probably about 75 units, individual homes, including 4 or 5 green spaces.
So there goes the vision of Project 500, okay? We were promised the regularization of all contract workers and Imani workers who are working for the government in 12 months.
Congress commits to regularizing the status of contract workers who are working for the government and Imani workers who are working for the government within 12 months of assuming office.
But in the heat of the night, we realized we couldn't fulfill that visionary promise. So we backpedaled.
We never said we would regularize the public service in 12 months. We said we would regularize it. And we have begun to do so.
But you said so. You said, well, in 12 months. You've heard it, right? I played the clip. But he also said that he can regularize contract workers. It didn't take much, just a stroke of a pen.
In that position. Right. And I'm saying the job of the citizens, of the government, is to fight for its citizens, to protect its citizens, to encourage its citizens to be independent, not dependent, not vulnerable. So that is the challenge we face. And I'm saying it is solvable by the stroke of a pen.
Yep.
And let me make this further point. It is actually illegal. The Employment Act clearly says that you cannot put someone on a fixed term contract, meaning these short term contracts, when the position they are filling is an indefinite one. So the government itself.
Yep. It was illegal, he said, to hire workers on contract. But that didn't work out so well. So he again thought he'd mislead the nation.
When people want to make mischief, they're going around and saying, you say I stroke a pen, you can regularize everybody, you stroke a pen, regularize everybody. I never said that. I said there should be one public service. And I will say it again, there should be one public service.
You just heard him say he could regularize by the stroke of a pen. And then he said he didn't say that. Of course he said he wants one public service. And what that meant, all fall under the 1958 pension plan. That's one public service, regularize everybody, and we have one public service. But before that came the excuses that we cannot pay the pension and regularize all public service.
The regularization is focused on the several hundreds, if not thousands, of other persons who do not have those things. And the point that I think P.S. Marshall was making is that in order to treat with that, we simply cannot take all of them and make them established public servants for the simple reason that it will bankrupt the government. It will not be sustainable. So the discussion, the partnership, the compromise has to essentially be how we improve the terms and conditions of these persons' employment as close as possible to that of established workers in a manner that is sustainable. And that involves a number of things. How we agree on a pension formula for them, for example. How we agree on the vacation, etc., etc., etc. So that is what the process.
Did he say it's not sustainable and it will bankrupt the country? Maybe that's why we're bankrupt now. But former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, over and over again, said it. He said it will bankrupt the country. But Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell alone didn't come forward and admit that. Attorney General Cindy Daughter finally came forward and said in the Senate, let's be straight up with the people, giving them the facts.
But let's be straight. We got to be straight with the nation. Contract work and pension reform must go together. Because we commit to pay the retroactive pension, and we are doing so. We understand the import of the ruling of the court. But so as not to do severe damage, perhaps even irreparable damage to our economy in the long run, we must work out a pension plan going forward that's sustainable. Because as it stands now, when people retire, they are entitled to NIS, that's public servants I mean, they are entitled to NIS plus government pension, and government pension is a non-contributory pension, which means the government alone pays everything into the pension fund, plus under the NIS law, the government pays 6% into the NIS, into the National Insurance Fund. So going forward, that will be a really hefty sum that the IMF and everybody else have already warned is not sustainable going forward as it is. Plus, if we regularize contract workers across the board without at the same time treating with pension reform, what do? We bloat the public service. We expand the public service, and in so doing, the amount of people who would be eligible for pension.
You see, they did tell the workers that they couldn't do it. After they got the votes, we still end up with two public service. One said that's under the 1958 pension plan, and the other said that are temporary, that are not regularized, they are under the new SUSU plan. Anyway, we need to know about the board of trustees that was supposed to overlook the monies for this SUSU plan. We ain't hear nothing about that since, but we need to find out. They never told the workers that. We have one public service. We're going to regularize everybody after 12 months by the stroke of a pen, right? But the Prime Minister, as I said, the former Prime Minister, Dr. Mitchell, did warn that this was going to happen, right? He told us, and that is Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, told us that spending monies on concrete is non-productive.
So we have to ask ourselves, if we spend a significant portion of our resources in the non-productive sector, and that is exactly what concrete and steel is, non-productive. If we invest the vast majority of our resources in those areas, how are we going to grow the economy? How are we going to grow our GDP? How are we going to increase production in agriculture, in fishing, in manufacturing, in the digital economy? We are not going to. Because spending money on concrete and steel does not result in the medium or long-term growth of your economy. And it is compounded when you are borrowing to do so. The budget statement clearly says that there is a deficit of close to $100 million. In simple terms, the government intends to spend more than it can earn by at least $100 million. And where is this financing going to come from? It's going to borrow to do so. And our debt to GDP ratio stands at 70%. And if you look at the budgetary allocation, 34% of the entire budget, 34% is being spent to pay debt. And yet, you will present a budget that puts you in a position where you are going to borrow another $100 million. And you say to the people of Grenada, oh, borrowing is sustainable. Citizens of Grenada, borrowing on an individual level, when you cannot repay, is not sustainable. Those of us who go to a bank for a loan knows that the bank will not give you the loan if you cannot pay back the loan. And you know if you cannot pay back the loan, it spells disaster for you. You will lose your house. You will lose your car. It is the same thing on a national level. If our government continuously spends more than it receives and borrows to finance the difference, we will continuously be in a position where the vast majority of our resources are spent trying to repay unsustainable debt.
You wait. You're going to hear about borrowing for a budget when they come with their $2 billion budget. You hold on. Just hold on. So, it is safe to say that we have a non-productive administration because all they could tell us about is the roads and the slipper drains and the box drains that they've built, right? However, if you can beat them, train them. Here is the Prime Minister showing his concrete drains in St. David's, the most ever in 150 years. Yeah.
I said we've constructed more drains, retaining walls and culverts in 6 to 8 months than has been done in 150 years. The next step is just to scrape under the road. I actually think we should stop. I'm not so sure why we... How you all doing?
So, what we have to show, concrete, right? Non-productive. How visionary is that? So when the party gets into office, into power, and they behave a certain way, did the thought ever come to mind who fund the party?
So when a party gets into power and they behave a certain way, and you can't understand why they're behaving, did the thought ever cross your mind to ask who funded the big rally and the big fete and the jump up? And how do you know that the decisions that seems baffling to you as a citizen may not be decisions that are made in the interest of the people who funded the rallies and the big fete that we went to and jump up and have a good time? If we had laws that says limited, for example, the amount of funding that any individual could give to a political party, if we had laws that said a political party had to report every cent that it got in donations and publish it, or politics will change overnight. But we don't have those laws, and we're not clamoring for it. We don't even seem interested. The OAS report talked about that after.
So you're a lawyer. Where are those laws, Prime Minister? Have you put such laws in place since you've been in office? 3.5 years. Where are those laws? Let's hear you on. No, let me not say that. Just come in after and say, where are those laws?
I come last week to the Kawana Bay site. This site formerly housed the hotel known as Flamboyant Hotel. And subsequent to the closure of the Flamboyant Hotel, was transferred by the government of Grenada, not via leasehold, which is what Flamboyant Hotel had, but via freehold to the development company True Blue Bay Development Limited, which is the company that created the Kawana Bay project and had an approved CBI status for that project. As the nation well knows, not too long ago, the former administration led by Dr. Mitchell and the developer Kawana Bay had a very public and unfortunate falling out. And this led to the developer taking the state of Grenada to arbitration before the International Court for the Settlement of Investment Disputes, known as, in short, ICSID, and sued the state of Grenada for several tens of millions of dollars. And the site became a white elephant. The construction ceased. The site was closed down and it has sat there for the last 2 years or more. Upon assuming office, the government took the decision that we could not simply allow perhaps what is one of the most spectacular sites on Grandlands Beach, and certainly the most spectacular view, to become a white elephant dominating the landscape at that end of Grandlands Beach, Monterey area. And so for a protracted period of time, the government, first led by a cabinet-approved committee, and I want to stop here and signal our gratitude to that committee. The committee was led by Mr. Richard Duncan, and it included Ms. Leslie Ann Sion, Mr. Hassan Hadid, and Mr. Henry Joseph. They led the negotiations initially to try and see how this matter could be resolved. And I want to thank them for the time and effort that they put into this matter, because although it was not resolved under their watch, specifically, they certainly contributed significantly towards advancing the matter. In summary, the government made the decision to acquire the site so that we could, in fact, put ourselves in a position to have fresh negotiations with a new developer so that this project could, in fact, be completed successfully, so that construction could resume, so that several hundreds of Grenadians who were once working on the site and who became unemployed as a result of the construction site closing could look forward to resumption of work on the site, to resumption of employment, and ultimately to a hotel actually being completed on the site. So the government has acquired the site. It has acquired the site at a cost of $22 million US. We will be making the necessary payments between now and next year to the main owner of the site. The result of this is that the arbitration proceedings between the developer and the state of Grenada has come to an end. And we are happy to report that because the legal fees associated with defending the ICSID arbitration was running the people of Grenada into the several hundreds of thousands of US dollars, if not, it had already reached millions of US dollars in legal fees for a dispute that we felt was certainly not necessary and one that was created and should never have happened in the first place. Having acquired the site, the government is currently engaged in significant and advanced discussions with potential developers over their taking over the site to resume construction. At this stage, we have not yet concluded a definitive deal, but we feel quite optimistic that we would be in a position to come back shortly to announce the conclusion of this definitive deal.
So when you're jumping up in a rally and in an election, we don't know who funding it. What we know is that 22 million USD of our money was given to a client. And we were left holding the bag the empty bag, but we still have to pay 15 investors. So we have to pay the debt, right? And what we do know is that the white elephant is still standing on the hill and on the best part of the Grandance Beach, and the construction workers are still without the jobs that they were promised work would resume and the construction workers will get back their job. They're still without that job, right? Yes, all you're good. Grenada, nice, nice, nice. Then he promised zero rating in internet supply.
There is one item that we also wish to publicly call for a zero rating of, not just on a 12-month basis, but on a permanent basis. And that item is internet supply or data supply. We live in 2022. We must begin to transform Grenada by engaging in fiscal policies that encourage the areas that we wish to develop and to transform Grenada by. Information technology, without doubt, is one of those areas. Given the fact that COVID-19 has brought widespread disruption to the way in which we educate our children and to the way in which we work, it is absolutely crucial for each citizen of Grenada, young, student, old, working, retired, to have access to reliable and affordable data. And therefore, removing VAT or zero rating, VAT on the provision of data and internet services will go a long way in ensuring that we make the supply of internet service to all our citizens of Grenada cheaper and more affordable. And so the National Democratic Congress will zero rate internet and data services throughout the length and breadth of Grenada.
The parents of the students of Form 1 and 2 at the secondary schools on the island would have really appreciated that zero rating. One clinic, health clinic in every constituency with a pharmacy attached.
So if I stand here without the document, without the computer, and I come to you and I say, the National Democratic Congress intends to ensure that there is at least one health center in every parish that operates 24 hours a day, and that there is at least one pharmacy either connected to the healthcare center or a private pharmacy that operates 24 hours a day in each parish, and you like the idea and you clap, will you call it a pie in the sky idea?
Yes, I would call it a pie in the sky idea, even if I clap. He promised to break the cycle of nepotism and the victimization and to hire by merit.
But getting back to the main point, we need to run our country based on merit, based on hard work, based on the desire and the willingness to overcome and to find solutions to the challenges that face us. We will not move forward or prosper as a people if the sole basis for job selection, for promotion, for the award of contracts is party loyalty or personal loyalty. If we continue with this approach, we will be doing ourselves and the several generations of Grenadians to come a huge disfavor. And so under my leadership, I intend to break that vicious cycle of nepotism.
Mouth open, word jump out.
We need to know one another. They have senior members and junior members and those who just joined. We need to know that all of us belongs to the National Democratic Congress. So we can't just argue and fight for what I will get, what I will get, what I will get, when you don't know your people. So sometimes the reason the other side getting is because we're not saying who are the real NDC people we need to get, because we don't know one another enough. So if we are telling the MP or the caretaker, these are our people, and let's go see them or bring the people, then we will know each other better.
So he promised to break the vicious cycle, nepotism and victimization, and to work with merit. But then he tells us that some of us will starve. And he tells his people you have to divide to conquer. And some of us will eat. Those of us who don't support the NDC shall starve. The NNP had a $15 cap on the gas. And the NDC said that that was not enough.
Just one final issue, which is that of the gas price. The proposed cap on gas at $15 per gallon still leaves Grenada, because the $15, traditionally the price of fuel in Petit Martinique and Caribbean is even higher. And the minister has made no reference to what the cap will be for Petit Martinique and Tariki. And so we are still awaiting that announcement, because I'm sure our fellow citizens in Petit Martinique and Tariki are also awaiting that announcement. And while we are on that, citizens of Grenada, you should be aware that there is no gas station in Petit Martinique. There is no gas station in Petit Martinique. So citizens of Petit Martinique have the added burden of having to go to Carrefour every time to get gasoline. And on a jetty that is not fit for human occupation and use. A jetty that is inherently dangerous. No budgetary allocation has been made to address the public jetty in Petit Martinique. So the $15 cap will still leave us paying more for gas than St. Lucia, which is at $13.95 per gallon, Barbados, which is at $14.92 per gallon, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is at $14.17 per gallon, St. Kitts, which is at $14.03 per gallon, and Dominica, which is at $13.90 per gallon. Citizens of Grenada, our government collects $5.50 in tax revenue on every gallon of gasoline sold. If it was truly concerned about the high cost of living, and given how fundamental petrol is to that process, it would have said not only would we tax the price, but we reduce the tax on fuel consumption.
So how much taxes, Prime Minister, your government collected on each gallon? The same 5, right? You condemned the $15 cap and you removed it. Never told us, but sneakily from your ministry, the government of Grenada, right? The Ministry of Finance, right? You know, I think it's every 18th of the month or wrong, sort of something with the Wednesday. It's you give us the gas price, the new gas price, right? And in the fine prints, folks, here, listen to this. The Ministry of Finance continues to monitor petroleum product prices and will intervene as necessary if prices exceed $17. Yeah. So you remove the 15 and you bring it up to 17 without telling us. But it's there. You run your mouth on the 15, it wouldn't help. You remove the cap and you put it to 17. And the $5 tax is still on every gallon of gas. You have done nothing, you made it worse. All talk, my people. All talk, all the visionary, all talk is just that is what it is. All talk. Listen, if my people are having issues in travel, I'll just go ahead and lease 2 planes. The 2 planes.
As far as I'm concerned, if by October, November, we don't have an arrangement where us as leaders in the OECS are prepared to do that, then it means that Grenada has to go and lease 2 planes so that we can fly between Grenada and Barbados, Grenada and Trinidad. We will have to do so.
I don't know. I didn't realize we'd have to get permission from these islands to fly between them.
It requires cooperation from all the region because you can't just fly between Grenada and Carriacou. You have to fly Barbados, St. Vincent, so you need all of the islands to take part. You need all of the islands to be prepared to give the airline operator the rights to fly into their country. And if you don't have those things in place, air travel isn't going to come now. But it requires regional cooperation. It's not something that an individual island can do alone. Even if we bought a plane, we need the rights to travel into other islands, right? And we don't have enough traffic. 100,000 people, we simply don't have enough traffic to maintain a commercial airline that just carries people.
But it was your idea. Your idea. Nobody asked you to know, but it was your idea to just buy 2 planes or lease 2 planes and for us, for Grenadians. Mouth open, word jump out. Farmers, rest assured.
Is the farmer. So I want to assure the farmers that the National Democratic Congress is committed to strengthening the police's ability to treat with pre-elastic. We are committed to ensuring that technology is used to assist with fighting pre-elastic. And finally, we are committed to ensuring that the law and the minimum sentences that can be imposed for pre-elastic offenses are in fact increased. So you can rest assured of that.
Bang does bust, Susu don't bust.
You could call me Susu. I will accept the Susu because I am going to help the people of Grenada to put the little 1-1 money together and ensure that we can give it to the next person and improve their lives. So as I said in Rukane Junction last night, and I want you to join me in the chant, bang does bust, but Susu doesn't. Bang does bust, but Susu doesn't. Bang does bust, but Susu doesn't. So take Susu in you.
Take Susu in you. But I have news for you, Prime Minister. Susu does bust. All the time. Because when somebody decided taking their money and they go in and they ain't paying for the Susu bust. The leader of the NDC, Baby Jesus, say, take Susu in you. He spoke of wastage with the government renting properties all over the place.
Korongsotes, you will see significant buildings in a dilapidated state that is owned by the people and state of Grenada. The government has in St. George's. The government has failed to maintain it, has failed to invest in those buildings, and instead it is renting properties all over the place. It is renting properties all over the place.
Almost don't make any sense.
It makes absolutely no sense. All right, so you have significant wastage in those areas because there's no rationalization as to how you use government services itself. And it is sad because to me, if we invest in properties that are already owned by the state, right, and we can maintain these properties, it allows the state itself to use them, and it allows the state to rent some of these buildings to private citizens so that the state itself can get revenue, right? And that we can then invest in things like our police stations, which are in terrible conditions. Right? Our healthcare centers, which in many instances need significant upgrading. So those
Yes, the monies for the pickup trucks could have been invested in our healthcare, service. Folks, the Prime Minister's residence, where all of the previous prime ministers lived while in office, or there in Mount Royal, it is now abandoned by our present Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, because the area is not of prime minister's class. And the view is looking down on the people of River Road and Darbo. Most definitely, we can't have that. Instead of living there, the prime minister's residence belonged to the government of Grenada. He went and rent a property, costing the government and people of Grenada $20,500 a month. He's a bachelor.
We bring to any situation in life that we ourselves are in, who we are, our standard and quality. And if we have none, we will bring that too. We have had lots of low-class people with access to social media who feel Mount Royal is fit for a prime minister to reside in as it is. You should ask the government to let you stay there because it is vacant now. That place has for years outlived its usefulness. Has any of you who are today talking about the current prime minister's decision to not relocate to that Labast, overlooking Darbo, Mount Rush, River Road, Queen's Park, taken an objective look at it to see if you have a dog, if you will, that you really love, that you will allow to live there right now as it is? What obtained prior to June 23rd, 2022 may have been suited for that place. But since the commencement of transformation, it is obsolete. The entire grounds are always overgrown, as if to indicate that beasts live there. So you have to hunt for them. Ha ha ha. As we say, joke day. Anyone who knows the humble man that our current prime minister is, you would know that he's also classy, and his successes as a lawyer support his high standard of living and quality of life. Even though he lived on St. John Street, a building he owns, necessity and practicality contributed to him electing to live there as a private citizen. Of course, the high quality of the internal environment made it pleasing to him and his children. He's now the prime minister, and for security reasons, it is not practical for him to continue to live there. That is an undisputed fact. If you have your nice environment living in all the time, for reasons that are convenient to you, but you are in a similar position to the current prime minister elected to office, would you mindlessly relocate to a broth house? A house where intelligence tells you all sorts of unsavory things used to go on, and for many years? You gotta be out of your cotton-picking mind. Apart from that, when you see where this place is and what it has come to since after Sir Eric's years of living there, government should have parted ways with that location a long time now. I recall saying years ago, and only recently repeated, that no individual citizen should outclass the residences of our Governor General and our Prime Minister.
Do you know what took place in the mansion on the hill in Grandance above the Mount Cinnamon property? Do you know what took place there? So he rented a place, wasting the government money, because he said, if you have government buildings, why waste money renting, right? So he rented a place, wasting $20,500 a month of government money, up on the hill, looking over the Mount Cinnamon Hill property, with a panoramic view to die for. Don't Not Mount Rush and River Road and Davo, a man of class. The Prime Minister waited 7 months for that property up in the south, in Grandance. 7 months for it to be renovated. Why couldn't he have waited that 7 months for the Mount Royal property to be renovated? Hmm? But he can't live there. That's not that place hard to pass through. There you passing through Sans Souci, not a place of class, right? On DM the PM, when the Prime Minister was asked about the renovations of that property, this is what he had to say.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to the Honorable Prime Minister. I have a question, but if someone already asked it, sorry about that. I just tuned in.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to know the present condition of the Prime Minister residence in Patusi. Could you give us an update on that building and what is taking place there, and how soon you will be renovating or going there in the future? I'd just like to.
Thank you.
Right, so thank you, caller, for the question. The building is carded for renovation. We are hoping that the renovation can commence this year. The team from the Ministry of Infrastructure has been working on improvements to the architectural design and to general renovation. As you may be aware, when we assumed office, the building was not livable. It appears as if it had not been lived in for quite a while, outside of the what I will call outer buildings that the security detail was using. The main building itself was not functional, and so it requires some significant work to make it functional, not just for whoever will hold the office of Prime Minister, but all of the support staff that will come with it, the security detail, housekeepers, etc. We are hoping the renovation is, at least from the architectural design, it's mostly internal changes and some additional amenities. We are hoping that the residence can be used as an official meeting place, because as it stands now, for example, if you have large visiting foreign delegations, based on the current construct of the ministerial complex, there's literally no place to host them outside of the cabinet room, which to some extent is also a bit cumbersome because you have one significant large table in there with all the chairs around. So we are hoping that we can actually have dedicated space where if you are visiting foreign nationals, other heads of state, you can host the meetings there, both in terms of the ceremonial aspect, the working aspect, and if necessary that, a prime minister also visiting from another country needs a room to sleep over in the night, that we can afford some basic amenities of statehood for visiting colleagues. So hopefully the work will commence, and we expect that once it commences, within 12 months, it should be complete.
Old talk, but it would be applicable for foreign nationals and heads of state to stay. But he's above that. Remember, he lined them up down on the roundabout and marched past them as I am the king. Here's the king in his African outfit. They're all beneath him. So they could stay up there if he come and they need a place to stay. But that's not for him. He's above that. Folks, we continue through the visionary eyes of Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell,